Hi, Pivo here, and today we'll be going through the Pixie Particle Editor. Let's just start with the first option, which is alpha. We'll have alpha start and alpha end, which alpha start means like the opacity when the particle is starting, alpha end will be when it's finished. So you can have it fade out, or alternatively, if you set it the other way, it will fade in. Useful option. Another useful one is scale. They're all useful, but another useful option is scale. So you can set like scale to be like 10, let's say. So start big, go to small, do 0.1, which will start small and it'll get bigger. So this can be useful if you want something to shrink, like to grow into the thing, or like shrink into nothing. Great, useful tool. Scale multiplier will change the multiplier for these. So this will be multiplied by 2, this will be multiplied by 2. So color, we'll have the starting color, which will be the color that it starts out with. So we can have it start out as red, and then end at black, I think. I have this set to, so that'll give you a better idea of what's happening. We can also set, I don't know, let's say to blue. Be better. So starting speed will be like what speed the particle is moving at when it starts. Ending speed will be when it ends. So say we'll have this set to 1,000. It'll go up and then it will stop. And we can set this to 1. If you set it to 0, it will stop moving entirely. So at least keep it above 1. And then you can have it start at 0 and stuff like that. And then after that we have minimum speed multiplier, similar to the minimum scale multiplier. This will also double each of these values, or multiply the values. Yeah. Acceleration. It will cancel out speed if you're using acceleration, but you can also do stuff like, say, all the particles will fall at negative 900, which will make them fall up or make them fall down. This is useful if you're just messing with a few settings real quick. So this doesn't cancel out. I don't know what I was talking about. But say you want to have your particles kind of fall with like gravity or something. So you add acceleration to the y position in that rate. And then you can set the maximum speed, so in case if this keeps on accelerating, it doesn't accelerate forever and become a like super speed bullet thing. Rotation will set the rotation like around the emitter, so having this set to 0 to 360 will make it emit in a full 360. So every particle will go in whichever way. If you have it just set to 0, 0, it will only spew out in a specific direction. I'm going to turn up spawn frequency to see that a bit better. And let's turn up max particles as well. So you'll see that's like that, but if we set the maximum rotation to 360, you'll notice that it starts spewing in every which direction. So that's what that does. Rotation speed will be like actually when it's in motion, you'll notice that the particles will be spinning slightly. So you can set your minimum rotation and your maximum rotation. Minimum rotation will mean that there are some particles that can not rotate at all. 180 means that they can turn halfway, and then anywhere in between is also possible. Now, lifetime will determine the how long like each particle will stay before it disappears. So I believe this is counted in seconds. So let's say we have that 1, and we can have this to 1 as well. This will mean that after 1 second, the particles will disappear. You can set these to the minimum and the maximum, so they can last anywhere from, let's say, 1 to 10. Which will mean that some of them will die right away, like you see, whereas others will like last for a while and just fall off the screen. So you can set a minimum and maximum. It will pick any number in between those two, so that you can get kind of a variance that way. Then you have blend mode. Some of these will be locked to Canvas 2D, but Canvas 2D runs terribly, so I wouldn't suggest using them. But you have a few options here. You have normal, which will just make everything normal. Additive will add all the colors onto the background, which is useful if you want to make some really glowy stuff. You have multiply, which will multiply everything to the background, which will make things darker, generally used if you want to make kind of more of a that's a good question. Like, I guess a darkness kind of emitter thing, if you wanted to. Multiply would be a good way to do that. And then you have screen, which kind of acts similar to additive, but it'll be more of just like a passive thing and won't be as glowy, I guess. Then you have custom eases. I'm not going to get into this because I did not implement this in the current build that I am using. So we have particle images. You can add images. There's a few default ones here. So let's say we want to add cartoon smoke. That will add cartoon smoke. Note that you can have multiple images, so that like you'll notice that some of the particles that are emitted are the old particle, whereas some of the ones are the new one. And then you can just delete them right there. Add images. You can also add your own custom ones. Like, let's say we want to add this A. So we can have A. So then it'll be like A and a bunch of clouds of smoke. It's pretty neat and handy to have multiple ones, especially for stuff like fire effects. So this is a useful tool. Advanced particle properties we will not be going into as well for the same reason as custom eases. So then after that we have emitter properties. So spawn frequency, how frequent the everything spawns is based on seconds. So let's say we set that to 1. Spawn frequency set to 1, and it is not doing anything. Let me just refresh the page real quick. Okay, so you'll notice it'll be set to 1. We can set this to 0.1, and then it'll spawn a bit faster, all the way down to 0.001, which will spawn as fast as it possibly can. Emitter lifetime is an interesting thing. So let's say we have this to 1. The emitter will be around for 1 second, then it will disappear. Now, in the editor, it will reappear once all the particles are gone, but in game, you will notice that the particles will just be gone forever. So it's basically if you want to make a limited emitter, so that, like, say you have an event that you want to have, like, an animation on, this would be the tool that you'd want to use for that. Max particles means that how many particles can something spawn before it just says no more particles, please. So if you want, so if we want only, like, let's say 10 particles on screen at a time, it will only spawn 10, and then after that it will wait till the particles disappear before spawning more. Of course, that's if we have the emitter lifetime at -1. And then finally, we have spawn types. So we have point, which will have an X position and Y position. It will just be a single point where particles can spawn from. So this is like, I'm going to turn max particles back up just so that we can kind of see what happens. So you'll notice it's all spawning from a single point there, like right where the mouse is. And so that's a way for, like, if you want to make, well, this is pretty standard, so anything like fire, if you have like a tap or something, you might want to use this. It's a very useful one. Rectangle, So rectangle, you have X position, Y position, height, width, and then, yeah. So let's say we want to make a 300 width by 100 height. So that will create a box. So this is useful for stuff like if you want to try and make weather effects, this is very useful, or if you want something to spawn. Generally, if it's coming from a square object, this is the way to go. This is also good if you want to overlay like anything for multiple tiles. Rectangle is usually the way that you want to go. Or otherwise you would use circle. Now, circle has X position, Y position, and then it also has a radius. So you'll notice that it's kind of all spawning from a single circle. And this is very useful for a multitude of things. Like you can do effects for multiple tiles or like some type of fountain. This works really well for state stuff too. So this is a very good thing for that. And then, well, not finally. But we also have ring, which is also very good for states, where you can have, I'm going to set the speed to 0 just so you kind of see what happens. So you'll notice all of it spawns kind of in a ring there. So this is extremely useful for stuff like if you want to make like a barrier or whatever, it's extremely good for that. And generally is a very good thing for states, I find. And then finally is bursts, which will kind of act like how you saw kind of act like a point, but has a spawn angle and can spawn multiple at the same time. It's a rather interesting way to do it as well. This can be good for like certain things as well. And spawn at the back. I don't believe this was implemented in my thing, so I will not cover that. And then stage properties, we'll just set the background here, which isn't actually important, but it's nice to have if you want to test different colors. And that will be doing it for me today. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy the plugin.